Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the biggest podcast that I think I will have to date. Today we're here with Mr. Wayne Lozinak from Hatebreed. How are you today, sir?
Yes, I'm doing good. And you pronounced my name correctly. I like that.
I did my
So
research. I did my
excellent,
time. I made
excellent.
sure this is going to be the biggest podcast that we've done so far. So I'm going
Cool.
to make sure all of this is, set in stone.
Glad to be a part of it.
Yes, sir. Well, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and everybody at home?
I am Wayne Lozinak, guitar player for Hatebreed, and I was in the band when it started back in the 90s, mid 90s, left for a while, and then was able to get back in the band, come back, and I've been back since 2009
Yes,
and
sir.
still going strong.
Left in 1996. Played for two
Actually,
years, right?
I was in the band twice kind of before. So I was in it
Okay.
in like when it started late 94 to late 95. Then in mid 96, Beatty, the bass player, kind of left temporarily and I actually came back. I was like, oh, I got asked to help out. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So then I
Okay.
ended up helping out for like 8 months. So my last show back then was probably like spring of 97.
I didn't know that. That's good to know
Yeah.
now. So I've got a question for you. I would like to know where, you know, you met everybody and 'cause you're an original member, one of the few still there. I think one of the three?
Three. Yep.
Three? Okay. So I just want to know how you met everybody, what made you guys want to start a band and all that fun stuff.
So actually, I met them going to hardcore shows back in New Haven,
Okay. The
Connecticut. There's a
classic.
place called the Tune In, and actually, I might have met some of them other places, but that's where we'd go hang out like all the time. And the band is actually made up kind of two other bands that were around there. Jamie was in a band called Josta 14 in the
Okay.
early to mid 90s, and Dave Russo was in a band called Frostbite, which also had Chris Beatty was in it, and then Boulder, who joined a little while after, he was in that band too. So it's kind of almost like a combination of those two bands. They were kind of,
Right.
Jamie left or whatever, that Frostbite was kind of breaking up. So Jamie, like, I would just see him at shows, and then he was trying to get a band together as soon as he was out. Like the name Hatebreed was around for way before there was even members. So he'd even be on flyers. Like I think he was like ready, like it was going to be ready, and they're just going to play. But I remember seeing the name forever. And then I guess they actually played first. They did a few songs as a four piece with Larry Dwyer playing guitar and Chris Beatty on bass. And I
Right.
saw them. They did like three shows at an Earth Crisis show in Bristol, and the place went nuts. Never heard the song before. I think Jamie was probably like making up lyrics on the spot. I think at that point because they were just so new. And then that's when I talked to the drummer. I was like, "Hey, so you only have one guitar player. You need another one?" He's like, "Yeah, man, come down, try out whatever." And then I tried out after that show and then joined from there on in. And then that was the solid five piece from 94 to I'd say the end of 95.
Awesome. And I want to give you guys a big congratulations. You just hit year 30,
Yeah,
30-year
crazy.
anniversary of being a band.
Yep.
So, I mean, only a select few bands in, the entire world can, claim to be actively performing and making music for over 3 decades. So, like, what would you say is your key to this longevity in this
I think
industry?
it's just people being happy and band members that you can get along with also
Of
helps because it doesn't
course.
matter. You could have the best musicians in the world, but if you don't get along with them, none of that matters. You
Of
gotta
course.
get along and kind of keep putting out the same like similar I guess style like without changing it too much, and it's kind of the same formula, just keep it going consistent, and it's like slow and steady kind of wins the race. There's bands that
Right.
blew up and then they're gone in such a quick time. So that's what I think anyway. I think, and I'm happy about it.
Right. And these guys become your best friends from all this too. And I mean,
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah,
even
I
already
knew them
knowing
when
them.
some of them were teenagers.
Right.
It's crazy.
And
Like
I
Jamie
mean,
used to
yeah.
book hardcore shows in Connecticut, like other bands. So he'd be
Okay.
at the door, like collecting the money and all that stuff.
Right. So
Yeah,
are
he's been doing
you
it.
professionally doing like full time with Hatebreed right now?
Oh
You guys
yeah,
are all full
that's
time?
it. Yep.
How's that been?
Oh, that's great because I had that break from between. Well, it wasn't like we weren't making money back in the '90s anyway. It's just kind of like you did it for fun. So to be
Right.
able to make a living off of playing music is like a dream come true.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And what did you used
I
to do
mean, yeah,
beforehand?
I drove like a coffee truck, like a lunch truck. I don't know if you know those things with like
Okay.
the silver box, silver doors, like on the
Yeah.
back. I, pull up to construction sites and car dealerships. So, you get the hot food on the back and the cold food on the side and just sit there with my changer on my belt and, sell food to angry construction workers every day. But it was cool because it was like my own business. So I did that for eight
Yeah.
years. And then actually before coming back playing, I don't know if you know this, I actually came back first as guitar and bass tech for the band in
Think I might.
2006
Okay. Think
because
I've.
Beatty's been one of my best friends forever. So I did talk to him when the band was blowing up, and one day he was just like, "Oh, I need a tech, I need whatever," and I'm like, "Man," I was like, "I'll do it. I'll
Yeah.
change your strings and plug in your amps, wherever, tour around the world and
Oh
get paid
yeah.
for it." He's like, "All right, let me ask the other guys," and then so that was it. So I started as a tech in
Right.
2006. I worked for a few other bands, and then 2009, Sean was quit, and then I just came right back in. So it was kind of seamless. It was great.
Awesome. And what do all your family members think of the band? If you don't
They're
mind me
they're
asking,
they're
they
happy
like it?
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because just that I'm happy doing my dream. They know I've been playing music and loving music since I was a little kid. Like that's my number one thing forever. Been trying, playing the guitar, trying to play the guitar when I was a little kid before I actually knew what I was doing. But I mean, it's literally a dream come true. So they're happy for that part. I get to tour the world and do my
Right.
dream.
They come to shows at all?
Yep, in Connecticut they usually come.
Okay.
They
Uh,
kind of sit way up in the balcony and
oh
just
yeah.
watch from afar, depending on where we play, if there is a balcony.
Right. And you guys just did those 4 sold out nights in January, Amityville Music Hall, right?
Oh yeah, those were. It
How
was
was
like a
that?
little residency. It was small. Like it was
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say that. I know.
200, little over 200
Right.
capacity.
Right. So that was very easy to sell out then for you guys.
Oh yeah, it sold out in like minutes because we were only gonna do. I think it started out as three, and then we put them all on sale, and then we added a fourth one. We were thought about doing a fifth one, but we're like, man, maybe we'll keep it there. But yeah, they were packed.
Yeah.
There was no barricade. We could barely fit on the stage. Like we're like it was very like narrow,
You guys have a
but it
lot
was
of
cool. It
gear.
was fun. Yeah, we actually couldn't put BD's bass cabinet next to Frank's amp like we normally do, so we had to put it almost a little bit in back of it,
Yeah.
so only half of it was shown because we couldn't even fit just that minimum of
Right.
backline. Like, but
From
it
what
was
I've
cool.
noticed, being a stagehand, the bigger the band, the more you have to compensate for the size of the gear.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
like,
Like because we play all different. We play small clubs. We play huge festivals. We've done
right,
arenas, so we've had bigger like production. But for that one, it's like minimal, whatever we need just to play.
right. And I mean, dude, I don't think I've ever seen a band do 4 nights in a row, let alone sell them all out. I mean,
Right.
what was that like for you guys?
It was cool because especially in the Northeast, like anywhere in the Connecticut, New York, even Massachusetts, we've got a good following there since day one. So we knew it was going to be packed in Long Island. So, but it's still cool that to do it, like especially when you hear like oh, sold out already. We're like, this is great. So it's
Yeah,
working.
awesome. And I mean, I'm not gonna, sweat it or anything. Hatebreed is arguably the biggest hardcore band in the entire world. And I mean, it, sounds like you've never heard before. You guys have been nominated for a Grammy in 2004. I mean, there
I
are not
know
a
it's
lot of people,
crazy.
are able to say that. And
Right,
it's not one, it's, there's no one person that doesn't in hardcore who doesn't know who Hatebreed is. I mean, how are
right.
you
And I think also
guys?
we have that kind of crossover with metal. Like
Right,
we could do both kind of shows and stuff
right.
because we'll do tours with Agnostic Front, Terror, and all that, and then we'll go out. We've been out with Slayer and Slipknot, and then we even did a
Deftones.
tour with right and Five Finger Death Punch. So it's cool that we can kind of fit in with all these things. And we did the Warp Tour in 2017, and it's like we're not out of place, even though some of the bands we play with are completely different, but we're kind of in that middle, which I like because I love hardcore metal and punk.
Right,
So to be able to play shows with all those types of bands is great.
right. And I mean, how do you guys keep this kind of like going at a steady pace to where because I mean, it's very smart what you guys have been doing. You guys are very smart with what people are going to want to hear, what people aren't going to want to hear. How do you guys kind of talk about that and talk that
That's
through?
what I think. I think it's about keeping the formula kind of the same. Like we do a little more, I'll say maybe slightly more intricate. We're not like real technical, obviously. It's still the base hardcore kind of maybe simpler metal, but we kind of like take the good elements from like Slayer and even just any Earth Crisis, like even stuff like kind of like in that world, and just try not to stray too much from the path. Like there's some songs Jamie might sing a little bit, but not like we don't have like full on clean singing or
Right.
anything like that. So it's still the same formula, but with little variations here and there to kind of keep it interesting and not get boring playing the same song every time.
Right. And you ended up taking the when you took this 13-year, 12, 13-year break, uh 1997 you said up until around
Right.
2009 if that's correct.
Yep.
What led you to, take this break and then end up coming back, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, yeah, I was going to say originally it wasn't like a job or a career. It was like something I did for fun. So,
Right.
Jamie wanted to tour, and I was like, I was actually in college back in the day, and
Oh,
and I worked at J.C. Penney. So I'm like,
okay.
I'm not going to quit my job at J.C. Penney to go tour in a hardcore band just for free. I kind of
Yeah,
wanted to be responsible, as what I
understandable.
thought I was doing. Had I known the band was going to blow up to it, was I might have took more of a chance, but I just there were so many bands back then that I think Hatebreed was like the one that just took off compared to all the other bands. So I just never thought of it as that. Like especially the first EP we did was Under the Knife, and if you heard that, you're not going to listen to that and be like, oh, this is going to be one of the biggest hardcore bands ever. But it just progressed, and it's great.
Right.
I was psyched. Like even when I was in the band, I was like, wow, that's cool. Like looking in magazines and be like, oh shit, and then seeing all the tours with Slayer, Danzig. They did the Tattoo the Earth, like open, like Metallica was playing in Giant Stadium, and they're like in the parking lot. So I was like, this is great. Jamie was
Right.
the host of Headbangers Ball. Like, so much
Okay.
just kept going and going and going. It was crazy. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to come back.
Right. And I know there's got to be some built up frustration here. When you left this band, there wasn't, like you said, much to it. It was just, having fun. But I'm assuming after a couple of years after you left, bands started making very good money. How
Oh
was that
yeah.
was that frustrating for you to have left and then as soon as you see them take
I
off,
mean,
you're
a little bit, I guess, but not like I wasn't mad or anything like that. I was just like,
right.
ah, man, I wish that, had I
If I'd
known,
stayed a
I
little bit
definitely,
longer.
right, I definitely would have, obviously would have been great, but,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, it was, like I said, I never would have even expected that back in 96 or
Right.
even 97 to like, there were, the band was big, like in the hardcore scene, and we were playing big shows and people were going nuts, but I still never thought of it as, because that was before Satisfaction came out. Once that came out, I think that's when you started seeing it kind of go bigger and bigger, and then Perseverance. Then that's when it blew up. I
Right.
mean, there was a song on the Triple X soundtrack with Vin Diesel. You know that movie.
Think so.
Like, yeah, if you check, that's like 2002 ish.
Yeah,
And there's a
yeah, yeah,
scene
yeah.
where he's
I
like
think I looked at
like
that.
like snowboarding down a mountain or something. It's like explosions, and "I Will Be Heard" is playing in the background. That's so it's like
I did
I
read
kept
about
seeing all
that.
this stuff. I'm like, wow, this is insane.
I just
So,
didn't
but
know
yeah, I
I didn't know how
never would
much of
have
that was
expected.
true.
Oh yeah, yep. Go check it out if you got the chance.
I will. So, at the time of recording this, you will have probably, just eaten lunch. I'm about to
Yep.
be eating dinner soon. 3 hour time difference. You're 3 hours behind me. Is this something that you guys have as a band kind of adjusted to, being like, all right, yeah, is this something you have to plan out when you're playing a show? Maybe, we're going here. We got to think this through on
Yeah,
how early
we're
we need to
kind of
get
used to
there.
it. I mean, we basically like we're usually there before, like the day before the first show, especially Europe.
Oh,
That's like way ahead. So then we'll like have kind of plan time to like take naps and stuff like that, and we try and like just get ourselves ready. I mean, it get you a little tired, but by the time the show comes, we're usually pretty good. And
right.
it might take a few days to completely adjust, like but it's we're pretty used to it by now.
Right. And when you came back, I forgot to ask you this. When you came back in the band, how did your, you had the same role. How did that same role come about coming back in?
Well, basically, I just Sean left, and I just kind of stepped into his spot, like
Right.
because I play all the main riffs, I guess you could say, and Frank does more of the like the holdouts and the
I gotcha.
accents and stuff, and then we all coming together.
Yeah,
But then also something different was when I actually play solos, which they didn't really do before. So when I joined, I'm like a lead player. So Jamie wanted to try something different, like on the self-titled. He's like, "Yeah, play some solos, do something here." I was like, "All right, that's Hatebreed with solos. It's kind of weird, but let's do it."
I
So,
gotcha.
and it's cool. Like I like it. It's great that I get to do that, And like, if there's another thing that was a little different. We're just keeping it kind of the same, but adding a little more elements here and there to kind of as a progress. The more something different.
Right. And is this a comeback that you had planned? Like you were like, I wish I could come back and play, and it just happened, or was this,
No,
hey, you
I
want to
never.
play
I
and
mean, I wanted to play in a band. I never thought it would be Hatebreed. Like even because like I said, I started teching for the band first.
right.
So I thought, hey, maybe I'll meet some other bands, and someone other band might need a guitar player. People quit, they get fired, and like just kind of being in the mix in the business of touring and everything. I was like, oh, maybe one day I'll get to play in a band, but I never thought Sean was going to leave. I thought it was solid. So I was like kind of amazed at that, but it worked out. It worked out for me anyway.
Right. And so being in this band, for upward, and maybe not you all the way, but 30 years, you guys have all made some of these friendships, like with different bands, different people.
Oh yeah.
Who are some of these that have kind of like stuck out to you guys?
There's so many, but like I think band like Shadows Fall is a band that's always fun. They're always cool. Terror and even Agnostic Front, which like legends that like Exodus that we've like looked
Right.
up to, but that we've got to tour with. Like those are some of them. There's tons. Like especially when we play festivals and we see everyone there. You go backstage, it's like family reunion almost, and you get to hang out with everyone and watch other bands. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely a cool part of it too.
I mean, all these other bands, I wrote down just a couple of the big ones. Deftones, Avenged Sevenfold, System of a Down, Iron Maiden, Offspring, a lot more. Like, do you ever think that you would get to this point
Uh,
playing
when
with
I was
these?
when I was a young kid, I hoped it, but I didn't, I never really knew. I didn't say like, oh yeah, I'm definitely that's gonna be me, but I always
Right.
wanted to. So yeah, and when actually Ozfest '06 was my first teching tour, when I first tour ever, and like I used to hang out with the Avenged Sevenfold guys like every night, like
Okay.
drinking and partying. It was a lot of fun. So that was a good experience.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Blue Oyster Cult just came and saw you guys play, right?
Yeah, and Frank is that's one of his favorite bands of all time. So he knows all the guys. He went up and like jammed the song with them one time. So like I think it was like three of them showed up at the Emmyville show, and it's so small, so it was cool seeing them like
Oh,
over on the
yeah.
side watching.
Yeah. And I mean, what would you say is like, I mean, you've played with just about every band you can think of. Who's a band that you really want to play with, like the dream that you haven't played with?
Well, let's see.
Or maybe run it
We've
back.
done we've done festivals with Metallica, but if we could do an actual tour, like a full tour opening for them, that would be unbelievable dream come true.
Right.
Like above all the other dreams that have already come true. But yeah,
Right.
A tour with Metallica would be insane.
Yeah. All right, so on this next segment I got for you, it's a little bit of some breakdowns. We've got For the Lions and Hatebreed. We'll get to why, those two in particular. And then I've got Way to the False Self. Those all
Okay.
three of those albums. So the first album, first two, we've got For the Lions and Hatebreed. The reason I chose two of those is because you came back in the band in 2009 while For the Lions was being recorded, and you told me you were only able to record four of those songs on there, just
Right.
about.
So actually, yeah, when they were talking about Sean might be leaving, there was like phone calls back and forth, this and that. And then when they finally were like, all right, I think you're in. So Jamie was literally like, you got to finish up For the Lions next week because we have four songs left. I was like, All right. So I guess I'll start. What
Yeah.
are they? I'll start listening to them. So it was Slayer, Black Flag, Bad Brains, and Suicidal Tendencies. So I was just had the songs like just practicing as hard as I could, and I literally like less than a week later I was in the studio, recorded those, and pretty quick. It was didn't spend a lot of time on it. Just got the basic, made sure it was tight and everything, and then that was it. They were the album was done.
Right. And then your first album back would be Hatebreed, like
Right, the
full
first
album that you recorded.
studio. Yeah,
That feels is
that
that
was.
I mean that felt good to get back in
Oh
there.
yeah, and that was with Zeus, our producer who we still use. He's one of our good friends. He's from Massachusetts, and
Okay.
especially the recording, like you know, from the last old school stuff, doing like tape, and now that everything's technology is just so much better now. So it was like it's so easy, a lot easier, and everything's so clean. But you also have to make sure your play really good because everything's got to be so perfect these days. But it was like we were there for a long time, like day and night, every day, just doing the songs and everything. But it was hearing it back is like unbelievable, and just to be on a full length album with a band that's getting sold in stores everywhere is was amazing.
Right. And which one's your favorite that you've recorded? Like, just like the one
It's
that's really like has always stuck with you.
I think they all have good parts, I think, and great songs. And if I could take a combination of all of them, I would. But I think something about Concrete Confessional was like it was really good. It was really fun to make. And then it turned out that Looking Down the Barrel of Today is actually our most streamed song out of everything, which is
Yeah.
cool to have a newer song that people still really love, not just like like some nostalgia band where they only want to hear the old stuff, which a lot of people do. There's a lot of people strictly old hardcore, but for this to put out an album in 2016 and people love the song,
Right.
gets a huge response as soon as we go into it. And like I said, the most streamed out of all of them. That's cool.
Right.
So I guess
And
I'd have to pick that one.
yeah, and you were talking about solos. That song
Right.
ironically starts with a guitar solo. And that's you doing that?
A rip, yeah, that's just like a notey thing, but like actually the album does have a solo. AD is like has a full on guitar solo on it, but
Right.
yeah, I play all the solos. That's like a super metal shreddy solo too, which is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
AD, yeah, AD and Looking Down the Barrel are both
okay.
great tracks.
Awesome. So the other album I've got on here is Way to the False Self, which is the last Hatebreed album that has been released back in 2020,
Yeah.
correct? So is there a reason that, we've taken that you guys have taken a 4-year break
Well,
or
I think because that one was recorded right before COVID.
yeah.
So we were like, it was done. We were ready to go on a world tour with Parkway Drive, and then the whole thing got canceled, and the album was like pushed to. It was supposed to come out earlier, but it's like during COVID, we were like, we didn't even know if we should release it, so we released it. I think it was November 2020, and then it just kind of fell into the wayside where it didn't really, we didn't really do too many songs off it. We do a couple, but then we started doing like you know the Perseverance anniversary tour, and then we did the Rise of Brutality kind of anniversary tours. So we kind of just went back and did the classic tours. So that the album we didn't really promote it too much. And especially nowadays, we have so many albums out and so many songs to choose from.
Oh,
And
right.
playing live is just more what especially as a business. That's where you kind of make a living off of touring. That's albums aren't like they used to be. It's like we don't even really need to make an album because people just
Right. You
like
have
all
so
the
many
old
to
stuff
choose from.
anyway. Yeah, and then if even if we do a new album, it'll be one or two maybe that we even put in the set. So, and we're still going off of all those albums. I mean, we're gonna put out another. We're gonna record again, but
Okay.
as of right now, I think just getting back after COVID, just trying to get back into the mix of
Right.
being normal again. So there wasn't a rush to put a new album out.
Right. And how many songs do you guys normally play on your sets?
It's hard to tell how many songs, but usually we do an hour set,
Right.
hour and 15 maybe at the
Hmm.
most because they're so short and we have so many songs and it's so blistering. I think after that it's just too much.
Right. I was gonna say, I think that's only a hardcore thing where a lot of hardcore
Yeah,
bands don't want to play long
yeah,
because
and
it's a,
plus
it's a
it's
lot different.
people get tired out too. You're going
Oh yeah.
nonstop in the pit for an hour straight.
All right.
That's a lot,
You a
and
big pit
we
guy,
put
you
good enough of
guys?
songs. Not anymore. It
No?
used to be, yeah, definitely.
Okay. I feel that.
Back in the old days, that was that's what we do it every weekend. But now, as you get older, it's like I think somewhere in my 30s, I was like, okay, I'm good to just kind of hang
Right.
back and watch.
Who were some of your like bigger bands that you liked back then?
To go in the pit.
Oh yeah.
I like Mad. I think Madball was definitely one of my favorites in the
Okay.
'90s.
It's a great band. I've seen them
Madball,
play.
yeah, Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags.
Cro-Mags, I've seen them play. They got good songs.
Yeah, yeah, those, yeah, definitely great bit. But then of course the metal bands back like Biohazard. Biohazard's kind of another crossover hardcore.
Mm.
Biohazard, Pantera, Sepultura, Slayer.
Right.
All the typical bands like that.
And are those some of your inspirations?
Oh yeah,
I'd say.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about the newer kind of Cro-Mag stuff. I'm not
Yeah, I mean it's basically the one album, Age of Quarrel. That's like one of
right.
my all-time favorite hardcore albums. It's like that came out in what 1986, I think.
Right.
The actual album came out. After that, there's some stuff, but that's what I like. The Age of Quarrel. If those two guys, Harley and John, can make up and get together, I don't see that ever happening. Which I
Right.
get it, personalities, personal things. It's not going to happen. But that was something
Yeah.
cool.
I saw them here in Columbia. They played Columbia last
Which
summer.
version was it? John Joseph singing or Harley singing?
Harley,
Okay,
I believe.
the bass player.
Yes, there we go. I
Yeah.
don't see, dude.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know very much, but
Right.
the bald guy, bigger bald
Yep.
guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, he kind of like took over the band, right?
Well, he's always been the guy from the bands. He wrote a lot of the stuff.
I mean, I don't want to get
John
into
Joseph
all
was this,
the,
yeah,
you
it's a
know,
lot. I don't know, but
yeah.
he won the case, so there's
And there you
something
go.
there to it.
They're doing
But
well,
there were two different ones. There was like John's Cro-Mags and Harley's Cro-Mags.
right?
And they kind of made up for a little while. I think it was like 2001, 2002, where those two got back together and did some shows, which is cool, but it didn't last long. So
Right. You
it
know your
was quick.
stuff.
But yeah,
Educated.
a little bit.
Right. So I've got the final segment on here, and I kind of like to call this "How do you know that?" because a lot of people will question how I know these about you. So first one I want to talk about, correct you might have to correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not sure if you were in the band at this time, but in around 1995, 96, the new version of the Hatebreed logo was had arrived here in Colombia, if that is correct.
Well, that I actually don't know. I don't
Okay.
actually remember when. I remember seeing it, but I don't have any details. I would have to ask like Jamie or something. I don't know if
Okay.
anybody else would even know.
Now, I
Yeah, I'm
think
not sure where that came from.
I think I read something about that, maybe
That's a
heard something about
possibility.
it,
That's definitely a possibility.
but you wouldn't have been at the band at that time.
I don't think so. If I was, I might have been, like I said, the second time I came in the band, but I didn't tour either. So I did like the East
Oh,
Coast up and
right.
down. So if they did go somewhere else, I wouldn't have even been in they would have had either another fill
Yeah.
in or someone else might have been by that time.
Right. So, another thing I'd love to bring up, you just had signed, I don't know if it's a deal or, you now have your own signature guitar line with Dean, if that's correct.
Right. Correct.
So,
I'm
how does that
psyched
feel?
about that. Oh, it's great because I played other guitars and they're cool, but this guy Chris Canella, who I've known for years. Every time he'd come to a show, he'd be like, "Hey man, come over to Dean. I'll get you a signature model." And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And then we did a tour with Black Label Society and Anthrax. And John,
Oh my
who plays in
gosh.
Anthrax, used to be in Shadows Fall. He has his own signature Dean now. I was like, let me check that out. I was like, that's cool. And I kind of started thinking Kerry King just switched to Dean. They got Michael Lamont from Arch Enemy, one of my favorite guitar players. Michael
Right.
Schenker, like they have a good like roster. It's not like a too many, like and but so I was like, all right, if you want, this is what I want. I told him the specs, the scale length, the frets, the style, the weight. It's
Those
like
are all
if you
behind you right now?
send me, yep, all these, yep. And then I told him, and he's like, all right. So he sent me a prototype.
Look
That's
at
this one
that.
right here. And then I was like, it's great. So then they made me my own. So you're right here. It's got my signature on it,
You always
but
play that one or
it's
you ever switched up?
yeah, this is my main one. It's got
Okay.
EMG pickups. It's got like a satin neck, and
Mhm.
it's black. Just looks cool. Kill switch, but it's yeah. I mean, it plays. It feels great. The neck is great because it's like it's a 25 and a half inch scale. I don't know if you know anything about guitars or not. If you're
A little bit.
instead of a
More of a
24.
drummer over here.
Okay, gotcha. And it has 24 frets.
Okay.
So it's almost like it's kind of like a Les Paul style body, but with a longer, almost like a Jackson soloist neck, I guess, which I kind of combine similar qualities of the two, and then it plays and sounds great. So I'm extremely happy. And they just got announced last week at NAM, and they are taking orders now, so they should be arriving in stores around May. So I mean, that's insane for a guitar player to have his own signature model, in my opinion, and to be a good company. Dean, like big, has been around forever. Dimebag Daryl obviously played him forever.
Right. And I see you've got some Kiss memorabilia back there.
Yep, I got
And
some Kiss stuff,
right.
Slayer, Judas Priest, Ozzy, Metallica. The classic
Right. And
metal stuff.
I
I
know
got a bunch of hardcore flyers you can't see there.
your mom graduated with Vinnie Vincent.
This is
That's correct.
true.
Yeah?
Yes, she. That's funny. I just did a Kiss podcast with Frank and some other guys,
Oh,
and that actually came up like 2 days ago or something. There's that, but you'll. That's another one.
I got to get
But
this out quicker.
yeah, but yeah, Bridgeport, Connecticut, class of 1970 at Central High School. And Vinnie Vincent, my parents both graduated with Vinnie Vincent, and she has the yearbook still with his photo in it, and there's a
Oh, that's
couple photos
awesome.
in it, which is cool.
Yeah. And you also ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle
Yep.
and you
I
also
have
drive a Cadillac.
yes.
Just
Oh
tell me about
man,
those.
where you
I
getting
want
these
to know
info
about
from?
I know.
Paparazzi.
I want to know about this.
I got a 2008 Softail Custom, which I'm from Connecticut originally, but I live in California now. I'm up in the Bay
Right.
Area, so now I get to ride it. I've been up here for a little over 2 years, so
How you
now it
feel about
doesn't
the
snow.
49ers?
The New York Giants are my team, but
All
they're not
right.
doing that great. So the 49ers are kind of my secondary.
Think I've
So
got
I'm like
you won't be able to
that.
see
That's
it, but I've got a 49ers flag over there, so.
oh, there you go. So yeah, I got to go for them. That's the
Okay.
local team.
I got you.
But yeah, get to ride out here. It's great weather, nice. I'm north of San Francisco, like
Okay.
north of the Golden Gate Bridge up in Sonoma County. So yeah,
Okay.
it's wine country, so it's nice up here. So that's cool.
Right. And the Cadillac, what year is it?
Cadillac, I got an '07 CTSV, which is nice, 6 speed,
I
rear
don't know a
wheel
lot about
drive.
cars, but it sounds very
It's
nice.
nice. It's kind of a combination of like speed and luxury, I guess you could say.
Okay. Which is your daily kind of car?
Just the Cadillac. That's my
Okay.
everyday.
Awesome. And I've got one more on here that I specifically saved for last because I was just dying to know this. I would like to know about Wayne's death pool.
Oh, God. That first of all, did not come up with that. I see you were talking to one of my other band members.
No, never.
I maybe I don't know if it was Jamie. We do meet and greets, and Jamie just says these wild things. So then he'll be like, he'll be like if someone dies, a celebrity, and he'll be like, I wonder if Wayne had him in his death pool. And I'm like, what? He would do it on like text messages. So then he would start asking people to meet and greet, like, who are you gonna put in Wayne's death pool? And I'm like, and I had nothing to do with this, but somehow it got put on me. So I'm like, maybe we should not do that anymore because then
Okay.
people are actually dying. And I'm like,
I
but
understand.
that had nothing to do with me. That's those other jokers in the band.
All right.
Probably Frank too.
Well, Wayne, unfortunately, that's all I got for you today. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know it's with this kind of interview, your time however much time you give me is enough for me.
Cool.
I've got one more question for you, and I'd like to know, what's your message to the world?
My message to the world is thank you all for coming out to our shows, and I appreciate it more than you know. And I'm glad that we're still making people happy with our music and our live shows. And if you keep coming to see us, we'll keep coming to see you. So thank you very much. And for
Awesome.
people who want to actually do podcasts with me.
Awesome. We got any final send-offs? Anything else you wanna say?
I think that's it. Just thanks. Come see us. Our 30th anniversary shows. We have
Yeah.
more in the works. Not everything has been, announced yet, I guess you could say. If you're in the Connecticut area, we're doing our home state 30th anniversary show on St. Patrick's Day in Wallingford, Connecticut. And it's also going to be my 50th birthday on that same day.
Look at that. One you can't miss.
Exactly. So I think you should go.
Awesome. Well, Wayne, I really appreciate you getting on here with me. This is I'm I don't know how I think I did this tonight pretty well. I don't know how I'm doing it very well, but
Fantastic.
the
I'm
nerves
worried
didn't
about
get to me.
myself half the time trying
I
to
know.
answer questions.
Me too, man. Me too. I think we did a great job tonight.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Well, Wayne, I really appreciate it, and you have a great night.
You too.